Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Heather Mehdi, and you're listening to Voice of Pakistan, Voice of Free Pakistan. This program is going to be English. This is a weekly series that we've started for Sunday to discuss both the internal politics of Pakistan and the regional situation. Uh, oh, my Lord, expand my chest, make my task easier, untie the knots in my tongue so that they can understand what I say. My guest today is none other than the great Dr. Zafar Bangash. Dr. Zafar Bangash, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, Heather, and it's a great pleasure to be with you, and my salams to your viewers and listeners as well.
Thank you very much, sir. That's very kind of you to agree to join me on this weekly program on Sunday, which we will do in English. We will try to keep it brief, but we also want to reach out to both the Pakistanis living overseas who are not as comfortable in understanding Urdu and more comfortable understanding English so that they can also understand what's happening in Pakistan and outside Pakistan. So thank you for that. I think the biggest the thing on the horizon, Dr. Bangash, is the recent yesterday's Supreme Court judgment in which the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf of Prime Minister Imran Khan has in actual fact been completely disenfranchised from participating in the election by taking away the symbol. So all their candidates now no longer can fight for the election for their seats in the national assemblies and the provincial assemblies under the banner of their party's symbol, but will now have to fight as independent candidates. How do you see this?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The verdict by the Supreme Court of Pakistan yesterday, while it was not unexpected, but it shows the depths of depravity that the judges have sunk to in depriving the most popular party and the most popular leader in Pakistan of participating in free and fair elections. You see, in Pakistan, the literacy rate is very low. And given the fact that there are approximately 150 or 160 different political parties contesting the elections, and then you have these independent candidates, etc., it's a mind-boggling exercise for an average voter, the vast majority of whom are, of course, not highly educated. These are village people, etc., and they go by symbols, so they recognize people by symbols. And the cricket bat symbol that belonged to the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party led by Imran Khan, the former prime minister, was a very recognized symbol that people could identify with. And if when they went to the polling station, they would look at the symbol and they would know that that is the candidate that they want to vote for. And the Supreme Court, at the behest of the Election Commission of Pakistan, having taken away this symbol, has deprived the 250 million people of Pakistan, and of course, if we take the electorate, which is probably about half of that, of their fundamental right to participate in elections. So it's a major blow to the representation or the legitimate representation of the people of Pakistan. Of course, Imran Khan had already been disqualified. He's languishing in jail on absolutely bogus charges. His real crime is, or actually two. Number one, that he insists that Pakistan should have an independent policy, both internal as well as external. That means it should not be a stooge of the Americans or anybody else abroad. And secondly, that these criminals and corrupt politicians and generals and judges and bureaucrats and politicians that have plundered the resources of the country for 75, 76 years, that he would bring that to an end and hold these people accountable. So there's a whole gang of people that have come against him, and they have basically excluded him from the political process. Of course, his party workers or party candidates can now run as independents. But just imagine, there are thousands of constituencies, both like, the federal as well as the provincial. And each candidate is now given a separate symbol. Somebody is given a symbol of a cup, somebody of teapot, somebody of, I don't know, a broomstick, whatever. I mean, for people to figure out who to vote for now is virtually impossible. And so this is a deliberate attempt to keep the most popular party and the most popular political leader in Pakistan out of the political process, so that these criminals can continue to rule the country, plunder the country, and it is going to have extremely dire consequences for the future of Pakistan.
That was a very good overview of the situation. Just to add to this, that the candidates who are now elected as independent candidates, since they do not belong to a political party, they can then join any political party. And the way we have seen the brutality and violence that has been inflicted on PTI, Imran Khan's party members, since the last 22 months, when Qamar Javed Bajwa, the previous military dictator, overthrew this government in connivance with the Americans through a message sent by Donald Lu, the Undersecretary of State, to our ambassador, saying that if you don't remove Imran, then and 30,000 people languishing in jail, women routinely picked up, tortured, physically abused, abused otherwise, which you will understand. It is very easy now for to be able to do the same to these candidates who will be elected independently, to follow the diktat of the current army dictator Asim Munir, who, by the way, himself is an illegal and unconstitutional army chief, because he was not eligible for this post, having retired 2 days earlier than the previous incumbent's position. So it's a tough time for Pakistan. How do you see this playing out, with the military now in total control of every major institution of Pakistan, including the superior judiciary?
If you look at Pakistan's history over the last 75 or 76 years, the military has gradually tightened its grip on every facet of life, every institution in Pakistan. And look at the condition of Pakistan. It has been driven to the ground. Its economy is in ruin. It is dependent on external help to keep the economy going or afloat. And the condition of the people has actually gone down drastically. I mean, prices have skyrocketed. It's absolute total chaos in Pakistan. You see, for a country to progress, what you need is internal cohesion, internal stability, internal security, and peace on its borders. And the army has messed up both of these. There is no internal cohesion in Pakistan. There is deep conflict in the society. People's lives have been disrupted. There is, as I said, prices have skyrocketed. People are the vast majority of the people in Pakistan are languishing in poverty. And as far as external peace is concerned, for a country to make progress, it has to have peace with its neighbors. Now, that's, of course, not always the choice of a country, because if one has nasty neighbors, then you cannot do anything about it. But in Pakistan's case, the only nasty neighbor, of course, is India to the east. But Pakistan has deliberately taken up fights with its Western neighbors like Afghanistan and Iran, and even now pulling away from China, which is a neighbor. And all because these generals, these thick generals in the army, they want to lick the boots of the Americans and want to remain in their good books. Although they know this is the experience, every Pakistani who has any knowledge of how America has mistreated Pakistan, anytime America's purpose has been served by Pakistan, then it has kicked the Pakistani army in its teeth. But somehow these people are shameless. They have no self-respect. They have no dignity. So they continue to behave in a manner that they're obviously basically gluttons for insults. They want to be humiliated, and that's what the Americans are doing. And they know that Pakistanis can be bought for a few dollars, and that's basically how this whole thing is going. So it's not going to be good for Pakistan at all.
Sir, I've just showed this slide, which shows the current budget for Pakistan, the year from July 23 to June 24. Pakistan's entire expenditure is 14.46 trillion rupees, out of which our debt servicing is 7.3 million. So 50% of this is debt servicing for the loans that we paid. 50% of these loans were actually taken to purchase weapons, armaments for the military. If we take the total defense outlay for Pakistan, the official figure is 1.8 trillion, which is 12% of our annual budget. If you add 560 billion rupees to this, and then you add 50% of the debt servicing, which is 3.65 trillion rupees, we have this massive, colossal sum of 6.5 trillion rupees, which is 42% of our budget, annual budget, which this military consumes, and this massive, huge army with nuclear weapon, tanks, guns, has turned them against its own people. And that is what we see today. It is so sad to see that our entire tax collection is 7 trillion rupees, out of which 7.3 trillion rupees is debt servicing. We can't even pay our loans back with the tax collection that we do. So I think that is also something that Pakistanis must become aware, that this really is a battle to loot and plunder Pakistan, because otherwise the military knows that there is no money. So Pakistan either has to borrow, or Pakistan either has to print currency, so inflation, or Pakistan either has to sell assets, which is what the military is now doing. Massive inflation inside Pakistan, and they want to sell off our mineral wealth and agricultural produce to the Middle Eastern countries.
Yeah. Well, you see, the chart that you showed is a very graphic representation of what is wrong in Pakistan. It is the military that consumes the bulk of the budget. I mean, almost 50% of the budget is consumed by the military. And the tax revenue that Pakistan gets is not even enough to pay the debt, to service the debt. And if it continues to incur more debt, which it has to in order to survive, because the country is not producing anything, its exports have nosedived. Every indicator shows, economic indicator shows, that the country is going downhill. And if you look at the development budget, only 1.9% for health, education, building roads, etc., taking care of the environment. I mean, how can the country make progress if that is the amount that is dedicated or spent on development? That means that the people that are in power are not interested in the country and the people making progress and development. They are only interested in lining up their own pockets, taking this money away from Pakistan. According to some estimates, Pakistan's the wealth that the elite of Pakistan have stolen from Pakistan is something like $100 billion stacked away in Swiss banks, in Dubai, in the US, in Britain, France, and these criminals have bought properties all over the world. And in fact, even some army generals have bought islands in Australia, for God's sake. I mean, you can imagine the amount of money that they have stolen from this country. And the consequence is, of course, that the country is going downhill. The people are suffering. And it's the people that have to pay the price for their wrong policies, for their criminal behavior, and for their extravagant existence that they are leading. They and their children, of course, have foreign citizenships. As soon as an army chief retires, he runs away from the country. He goes to either England, the US, Australia, Belgium, Britain, France, or Canada, whatever. They go and live their luxurious life, and they don't care what happens to the people of Pakistan. So that's the real tragedy of Pakistan. And I'm glad that you showed that chart, which indicates exactly how the money is being stolen.
And so we are very clear that till Pakistan does not reduce its expenditures, which means it has to reduce its defense expenditure, which means it has to now live very frugally, which means it has to stop the import of luxury items, it has to stop the import of fuel, oil, diesel. That's our largest import. If we don't do that, we are definitely going to default. And if we default, sir, you've just laid out this brilliantly. It's saying that if there is no political stability, there can't be economic stability. No one is going to invest in Pakistan, whether he's your best friend, even if he's your brother. No one is going to invest in a dying, defaulting, doomed organization or country. So I think that is very clear. What do you think is the impact of this around the region, what's happening in Pakistan, and what is also happening in the region, Gaza and the Palestine issue?
Absolutely. We can see that the entire region is in turmoil, And if we want to put our finger on it, behind all of this turmoil is the United States of America. So these generals and Pakistani elite are running to kiss the feet of the Americans, whereas the Americans are busy destabilizing this entire region. They are targeting Iran, they are targeting Afghanistan, they are targeting the Palestinians in Gaza, and backing the Zionist war criminals that are perpetrating genocide in Gaza, whose case, of course, is now before the International Criminal Court. And yet these Pakistani generals and elite want to support this war criminal, the United States. What we need to understand is that America actually is in decline. It is no longer the sole superpower in the world. There are other centers of power that are emerging, particularly this grouping of Russia, China, and Iran has become a new pole of power around which a number of countries are now getting together. And if these countries and the number of other countries from what is referred to as the global south can get together and get their act together, I think that the world can become a better place. But regrettably, Pakistan is not playing the role that it ought to be playing because of the fact that these generals have stymied Pakistan's growth, Pakistan's development, and today, unfortunately, Pakistan has been made redundant as far as global politics are concerned. These generals have reduced Pakistan to a sort of, slave of the Americans, and they do whatever the Americans tell them. That's a very sad reflection of Pakistan's reality today.
So, in a nutshell, Pakistan's voice, even in the region, has no impact on any policy or influence of any decisions?
Absolutely. You can see that, there was a time when Pakistan was highly respected, but today it is not. I mean, when you look at it, even with respect to Afghanistan, I mean, Afghanistan went through a 20-year war with the Americans, prior to that, a 9-year war with the Soviets, etc. Despite all of these sort of, terrible conditions that it went through, Afghanistan today is a very secure place. The Afghan currency is 4 or 5 times better than the Pakistani currency. The same situation exists in Iran. You look at it; it went through a revolution 45 years ago, and you look at Iran's progress. Despite facing massive sanctions from the United States, Iran is progressing. It has made enormous progress in missile technology, in agricultural production, all kinds of things. That is because they have leadership that is genuine, that is sincere, that want to see the country progress. Pakistan has the potential, but unfortunately, it is ruled by people that are criminals, that are thieves, that are robbers. They are plundering the country's resources.
So, do you think it will change? Do you think we have hope? And if so, how?
Well, you see, the only hope in Pakistan is that the people of Pakistan have to rise up, because they must realize that it is their future, it is their rights, it is their children's future that they have to fight for. And they have to fight against this army that is thoroughly corrupt, that is thoroughly dishonest, that is plundering the country's resources. And unless and until the army is put in its place, returned to its barracks, I think the first thing is to defeat this army, put it back in its barracks, and then reduce its strength. Pakistan does not need a 750,000 army. It's not really necessary, because this army is not capable of fighting any of the external enemies of Pakistan. I mean, we can see since right from the beginning, it has not won a single war against India. So that is out of the question.
And all the wars were initiated from our side. Not one was initiated by India, starting from the 65 war, the 71, and Kargil, Siachen, everything.
Unfortunately, yes.
Sir.
Yeah. So I was just going to say that, the people of Pakistan really need to understand that this army is not capable of fighting India. I think Pakistan has, because it's the only Muslim nuclear state, it can make absolutely clear to India that if India were to impose a war on Pakistan, Pakistan would have no option but to use the nuclear option. And that would in fact deter India from attacking Pakistan. For that, you don't need 750,000 troops. I think even less than half would be enough, and that would save a lot of money for the welfare development and other crucial sectors of Pakistan's economy.
Thank you very much, sir. Very kind of you. Wonderful overview of what's currently happening, what's happening in the region, what's the prospects for future for Pakistan and the region. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and keep you safe and sound, and uh, keep Pakistan safe and sound. And may He give strength to all those who are fighting for a free democratic Pakistan, and the rule of fair and just rule of law. And may God grant the greatest elevation to those who have lost their lives in this jihad against the tyrants of Pakistan. Pakistan Zindabad, Pakistan Paindabad. Ilahi Amin. Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure. Thank you.